Hey everyone, and welcome to this video on lens basics, our second part of the Canon EF Lens 101 series. All right, first off, some quick lingo. You'll often hear people refer to lenses as glass. It's just an industry term that's become synonymous with lenses. Also, you can't talk about lenses without talking about aperture. If you're unsure of what aperture is or how it affects your depth of field, make sure you check out the Canon EOS 101 series. Now, another word for aperture is f-stop. So if someone said the aperture is set to f2.8, it would be the same thing as saying the f-stop was 2.8. Next, let's talk about focal length. Focal length tells us how much of a scene will be captured. It's measured in millimeters, so the shorter the focal length, or the lower the number, the wider view we're able to see when looking through the camera's viewfinder. The higher the focal length, or the larger the number, the narrower the view will be. So if a lens has a focal length of 18 to 135 on it, that means you can shoot it at any focal length between 18 millimeters and 135 millimeters. That brings us to the difference between zoom and prime lenses. A zoom lens, like the 18 to 135 lens that I just mentioned, means that it can zoom in or out and you can change the focal lengths just by turning the lens. They're really versatile and they help keep us from changing lenses when a longer or shorter focal length is needed. Now, a prime lens is a fixed focal length lens. That means it only has one focal length and you can't zoom it. An advantage of these lenses is that they're sometimes lighter or more compact, and a huge plus is that they tend to have a larger maximum aperture. That means you can shoot in low light, and they're great for shooting portraits when you really want that soft, blurred background. If you have a zoom lens, it may have two apertures listed on it. That means it's a variable aperture lens. So for example, the Canon 18 to 135 lens reads f3.5 to 5.6. At its widest focal length, in this case 18 millimeters, the widest aperture you can shoot at is f3.5. Then, as you zoom in to 135, the widest aperture you can shoot becomes smaller. So when you zoom in to 135, your widest aperture would be that second number that's listed there, which is f5.6. Again, don't forget, if you've got questions on this, go check out the video on aperture in the Canon EOS 101 series if you want to learn more. One of the features that you'll find on many of the Canon telephoto lenses is called image stabilization, or IS for short. This is really helpful on a telephoto lens because when you're zoomed in on a subject, any camera movement becomes more exaggerated and you can get some blurry photos as a result. But when you turn IS on, the lens actually helps correct this to give you a sharper photo. That said, if your camera's on a tripod, it's a good idea to remember to turn the IS feature off since the lens is already stabilized. You may notice that the letters STM appear on some of your Canon lenses. STM stands for stepping motor. These lenses shine when it comes to shooting video as well as stills using live view. They help capture and follow focus from one subject to another, and it helps create that smooth cinematic look that really makes your video stand out. Another setting that you'll see on most Canon lenses is the autofocus and manual focus switch. This is found on the side of the lens barrel, and it's usually abbreviated as AF/MF. With autofocus on, which by the way is the best way to start out, the camera will take care of focusing for you. If you switch to manual focus, then you have to use the focus ring on the lens itself to focus the image. If you have more questions about autofocus, check out the EOS 101 video. Finally, let's talk about two different types of Canon lenses. You may notice that some lenses have an L in the name. For example, the 24-70 f2.8 L lens. The L series is there to get you the highest quality and sharpest image. You'll also be able to tell it's an L series lens because the lens itself has a red ring around it. The other thing that you'll notice in Canon lenses is that some say EFS and some only say EF. EFS lenses are designed specifically for Canon's APS-C digital bodies, such as the Canon Digital Rebel or the Canon EOS 70D. The EF lenses are designed for the full-frame, larger sensor bodies, such as the Canon 6D or the Canon EOS 5D Mark III. Well, that wraps up our second video in the series to help get you familiar with some of the lingo and the features that's good for you to know about your Canon lenses. Next, we're going to jump right into the different categories of lenses, such as telephoto, macro, fisheye, and some of the others, and the types of photography that they're best for.